We're back on YouTube, y'all. Teaser, never leave her. Got to. In the back. My swagger back. Truth. New watch alert. Hugh blow. Order big face roller. Got two of those arm out the window. I'm a river slope. Got back. Ladies and gentlemen, you are tuned into the Talk of Chicago 1698, and we are talking 3rd Ward South Loop shenanigans. Charles, it seems like they are trying to. What happened to Robin Hood? It used to be rob from the rich, steal from the poor. Now it is rob the poor, rob them blind, bill for the rich, and act like the poor stay blind.
You know, the thing is, it's also hard for the alderman to really explain this, because either she wasn't vigilant enough or she was played.
Charles, but you know could she be played? Because she did work. She was a deputy commissioner in the Department of Planning. So they dealt with stuff like this all the time.
I know. And you think that she would know, but she's saying that in her statement, she seemed to feign outrage that this kind of thing would happen. She's calling for an investigation and saying they tricked me and all that. Well, I don't know. I'm looking at some of our comments on Facebook, and they're saying, people saying she knew. She just, now she's trying to play like she didn't know. And that's a theory that a lot of people have. But the thing is, it's still unconscionable that $55 million in the 3rd Ward's capacity to do TIFs was taken and sent to Navy Pier. Come on, $55 million in the black community. That's the hookup, bro. But and then the critics of TIFs say this kind of thing happens all the time. That they can't give us chapter and verse on it, but they say this is the kind of shenanigans that is overseen by City Hall that happens in Chicago, and that's why black people.
But we got the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund. Yeah. Look, they say you got the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund, so they give you $3 million. We running around here, Charles. Check this out. Now we just got through running around here, let the mayor have us celebrate that they gave $3 million in grants to people.
Right.
Well, they just took 55. Look, and then you build, you take half the money and go build an art gallery, as the rest of the neighborhood is burned down.
Thief in the night, man.
Thief in the night, Charles. It goes back to my question. We on life support. Let's go to Rick. Rick, you're on the Talk of Chicago.
Hey, good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Keep up the good work. But I wanted to just mention one possible alternate third possibility, and that is that all this is intentional. It's for show. And it's possible that if the alderman doesn't step up for changing her mind on this new high school situation, that, again, that leads into my thing, the third possibility, that the alderman and maybe other aldermen are basically put in positions, so it looks like they're trying to protect money in the community, but they're put in these positions to allow these monies to be transferred, and then at a later time, when they lose their aldermanic seat, then they're going to end up somewhere in some other little job, just like you mentioned last week, that oftentimes people, these political hacks, end up somewhere and they're taken care of, and we're still looking like that they fought for us, but then again, we've been played.
You're right, Rick, and watch. Today, there's going to be some paid community activists that will be standing up for black folks and championing the fact that how much work that, again, more stuntery will occur. Check it out. There will be stuntery today. Be on the lookout for it. Ladies and gentlemen, you listen to the Talk of Chicago. Let's go to Lee. Lee, you're on the top.
Hey, what up, fellas?
What's up?
I'm with the caller that just called, and my thing is simple. She knew. I believe she knew about it, and I think that the mayor feels like he can say, throw me under the bus. I'll deal with it because I'm running for re-election. I got a $30 million campaign chest, I'll get reelected. But let's see if she's willing to fall on the sword. Because one thing about it, if she runs unopposed, then we know how the voters think, right? Because 47th Street is suffering, and you're trying to say that we can't buy out those stores on 47th Street, and I keep explaining that 47s won't change until 47s changes. So these type of things are disappointing because where does your loyalty lie? Does your loyalty lie to the individuals who are really trying to turn the community around? Or does your loyalty lie to those where the community has already turned around?
See, and that's what I'm saying, Lee. Thank you. I agree. Where do these people's loyalty lie? Because right now they busy worrying about trying to whoop on somebody instead of trying to take care of their community. Let's go to Mark. Mark, you last call. Go.
Good morning, you all.
Good morning. You got a minute.
There's something they call zoning and permits. And when she signed off and gave her support letter, and I'm going to show you how to go and pull the information, because I'm going to show you how she knew. Go pull the redevelopment agreement from the clerk's office. When you pull the redevelopment agreement, you will see that she signed off on it. All the information is there. It's a little breakdown to show you how much money was spent on, because this is a city-funded project. It will show you the breakdown of the entire budget. So she knew every line item, everything that was going on. She was directly involved in it, and she should be held accountable for it. She shouldn't be able to put the people to sleep as if she didn't know. There's a whole plan for Bronzeville. I forgot the name of it, but I'm pretty sure Lucas could call in and tell you all. There's a whole entire plan of gentrification for Bronzeville, and she signed off on it. Let's not forget, like someone just said, she used to work for the Department of Planning, so she knows exactly how things work. And so, and on top of that, her son's father is the attorney for Neighborhood Housing Services, who's the organization that's taking all those old people houses and stuff in Bronzeville and those communities.
Wait. Back up. Say that one more time.
Pat Dowd's son's father is the attorney for Neighborhood Housing Services, who is the organization that's funded by her housing committee, which she co-chairs. She funds housing, funds that organization, who then turns around, use those federal funds, and take those senior citizens' homes under what they call the Trouble Building Initiative.
Mark, I gotta stop you right there. First of all, Mark, check this out. I need you to, if you got that document, I need you to inbox it to me, email it to me, because we're gonna post it. Because this whole thing about I didn't know is kind of a little bit too much for me. Ladies and gentlemen, you are tuned in to the Talk Chicago 1690 AM. When we come back, I took a trip to the Juvenile Detention Center, Charles, on Friday, and it was eye-opening, to say the least. We'll talk about that when we come back. It is 8 o'clock on the Talk of Chicago.
The Talk of Chicago. Kushner's statement, trafficking arrest. I'm John Trout. President Trump's son-in-law and White House advisor Jared Kushner has released a statement ahead of his closed-door meeting with the Senate Intelligence Committee today. Correspondent Pamela Brown reports Kushner claims the
got the baby daddy connection. Got the baby daddy connection in here. The baby daddy. And baby daddy. I tell you,
Man, I'm sorry, y'all. I don't mean to be. Hey, Clifton, we're back at YouTube too. But I'm sorry if y'all feel like we busting y'all bubbles, and I ain't trying to be disrespectful, but golly, I mean, seriously. Come on, man. The fact that she... Man, y'all. I'm here to... it is, like, to me, it's crazy to me that we have there is, like, literally a screw the black people plan, and they give it to you in writing.
Look, man, there's a plan for transformation. But you know what's really interesting about how to connect the dots here.
Who's this on the line? Go ahead.
Connect the dots between Sanctuary City and the demographics in this city. Connect the dots. As black people leave by the droves as white people leave by the droves on the southwest side, right? They leaving, man. They gone, man. Southwest side cleared out. Out by Midway Airport, it's all Hispanic now.
Oh yeah, it sure
okay? And that youth, man, I mean 10 years, 15 years ago, that was all white.
Like racist white.
Okay, racist white. Now listen. As white people leave, as black people leave the city, right? Undocumented immigrants come in. While white people stay even because they have the yuppies coming in, right? South and West Loop, their percentage of the vote goes up because the undocumented can't vote. So suddenly they might be only 25% of the population, white people. They'll be 35-40% of the population.
Of the voting population.
Of the voting population. This is so. It happened that way in California.
It's diabolical, man.
In California, it happened that way, man. Our people in California can't vote, but they still have the high population, so they keep their numbers in Congress. They keep their numbers in the Electoral College. But the vote is such that it's dominated now by whites, and blacks used to have a really strong presence in California.
Man, we sure did.
When Tom Bradley was running for governor and stuff like that.
That's why we run
but
around.
But no more
claiming Kamala.
Because all of these non-voting people now live in California and make up a huge amount of the population. Same thing is happening in a smaller way in Chicago.
Man, Charles, it's like diabolical.
It's diabolical. It absolutely is diabolical. And it's not, and when I say that, I'm not being racist. I'm just telling you what's going on.
Hey, you know what we should do tomorrow? We should go to the Hideout.
To where?
We should go to the Hideout. Don't they got one tomorrow?
Is it the first?
And they got, and I think it's the
second or what? Third?
I think it's unions. I think it's like the union women.
I know that it's one. I think it might be the second Tuesday, or
we should go to.
We should go there one weekend. Sure.
We should do. Why they don't want to ask us to do one?
Yeah, they don't. I mean, we scare them more than anybody else in the city, man.
You think?
Oh man, it's a lot of them. You keep in mind, man, white liberals, man, it's a lot of them, man. They're frightened because they don't have their bread and butter here.
Hey y'all, if you are watching, can you do a favor, take a moment and share the broadcast? Share, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook, take a moment, share the broadcast. Let's get this audience growing. That's right. Black people cannot be racist. We do not have the power to be racist. We can be prejudiced, and some of us are very prejudiced. Kang, Amina, Clifton, Michael Bullock, Amina, Edward, Muhammad, Tamiko, Clifton, Penelope, Antoine, Jeanette, Clifton, JB. All right, y'all. Y'all ready? I had a dream last night that Charles popped out and did some yoga. It was funny because I woke up cracking up. Time for some yoga. I'm my own private dancer. That love! Love to love! Let's go! Baby, bend over. Baby bend over. Baby bend over. Let me you do the yoga. Baby bend over. Baby bend over. Baby bend over. Let your booty do the yoga. Flex. Flex. Round on my head, but the world on my shoulder. Never do what I supposed to. Bending never break. Stop hating, Jacob. My money. You are tuned in to the Top of Chicago, 1690 AM. I am going to tell you all, if there is ever time for you to tune in to YouTube or Facebook Live, that's right, you can watch us on YouTube or Facebook Live. It is at the 8 o'clock break when Charles Thomas breaks out into the downward dog. I'm telling you, you can only see it on Facebook Live.
Man, but on Facebook Live, do you know those little frowny faces, angry faces coming across the...
Charles, I see all I see is the love. All I see is the love.
Faces, man, coming across.
All I see is love. Charles, you know what?
Man.
You can't spend no time worrying about what other people think. You got to do your thing, man. You got to live in your space. That's what I got to claim, and I got to own it.
That's right. You got to own it, man. But I tell you, you're right. You can't think about you can't worry about what other people
If I
think.
worried about what other people think, Charles, we wouldn't be here. You got that right, because they'll be like, stay your butt at home with that mess. Charles, let me just tell, first of all, let me back up, because, Charles, we are hitting the road. Did you know we are this Saturday from 10 to 1? Look at that. The Wintrust Bank in South Holland, the South Holland Bank and Trust is having their annual community cookout, and guess who is going to be there?
They're going to have checks there.
They got checks. Small ones, but checks. They got small ones. They cut this deal a little while ago, but the fact of the matter is, Charles, you know what? It ain't even about the money for me. It's about the opportunity to go see the people and to see you know what, Charles? See, I want to go to this because I want to know how many people actually are listening to us, right? How many would come out to come check us out? So look, check this out. Catch us this Saturday, July 29th at the South Holland Bank and Trust. That's 200 West 162nd Street in South Holland. From 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Now, Charles, they're going to have food, not alcoholic drinks, but they'll have drinks. Tacos, not tacos, excuse me, hot dogs.
No drink?
No drink.
Ain't gonna be no drink.
Now, Charles, I'm going to tell you.
For the drink and drink.
And drink. Drink. We're going to have drinks.
Okay.
Soft drinks. Now, Charles, check it out. It's funny because, you know what? I did a remote. Now, first of all, I love Wintrust because, you know, they give you your money back. If you don't, no ATM fees. So they will refund. If you put your card in a ATM and they charge you a $4 fee, they will send you a check and send it back to you.
Really?
No ATM fees at all. Wintrust.
Man, that nothing make me more angry than an ATM fee when I'm trying to get my own money and they charge me to get it.
You know what? That's almost nothing makes me that mad. It charges. I feel the same way about that $50 million of my money they gave to DePaul to build a fake.
That was $70 million. No. DePaul put up $70 million of its own.
Oh, my fault. You got the road. They rebuilt the projects on the south side though.
Who did?
Let me stop.
Yeah, please. Let's get back.
Okay, let's get back. So, Charles, you know what? As I have taken this role on and been more serious with it, you know, I've always had a commitment to our young people and giving back. This past Friday, after we got off air, I had the opportunity to go to the Cook County Juvenile Detention Center to speak to some young people. Now, I was doing this with Commissioner Bridget Gaynor, who I guess has this monthly series that she does. And so there were quite a few black people there. Barbara Bates, Carl West, myself.
Was one of my former colleagues there?
Oh, Terrell Brown was there. I
Okay.
talked to him, and he, when I said Charles Thomas, he was like, oh, this one. He had a lot of stuff, I think you know what? Terrell Brown was really cool. It was great, an event. Charles, but here I am with some people who would consider the worst of the worst. And let me just send a special shout out to all the guys that I met and men and women who I met at the Cook County Juvenile Detention Center. Particularly, I want to send a shout out to the gentlemen in automatic transfer. Those are the guys that come in early, maybe 14, 15, stay in there, and they're fighting a court case, but they have to be transferred to a male Mac to the Cook County. So I want to send a shout out to all those. But Charles, it was probably one of the most enlightening and scary experiences that I had, right? So I had the opportunity to talk to some of these young people. And at first I was telling my whole, the stories. But I asked them straight up, what would it take to end the violence? What would it take to get you to stop shooting and put the guns down? And the answer was shocking.
And the answer was?
When the opposition is dead.
They're going to kill them all.
Right.
Oh, man.
Now, Charles, you have to understand that, and it wasn't even malicious. It was matter of fact. It was, man, somebody at 14 or 15 saw a friend killed, murdered, dead. And so they want to return that, right? And it was one of those things where you had people literally telling me that their family was in another organization and their family was opposition. No, I might not kill my family member, but I will fight them over their affiliations. And Charles, it was a scary situation. When I asked about what about the innocent kids that get killed, you know what the answer was?
What?
It was with bad aim.
That was what? Bad aim.
The dudes who shoot and kill kids just got bad aim. But they're not going to stop the shooting.
But it's not like they have any remorse. It's just that, hey, that's life. That's death.
I feel like I was talking to soldiers. War-torn soldiers. Now, I'm not comparing it the same, but when you see these stories of young people who are the child warriors in these armies over in foreign countries, and they have seen, experienced, and done things at ages that I would never. Charles, it was pretty deep. And I really could tell you that I don't know where to start.
But isn't what you were exposed to what for them is learned behavior?
Yes.
They learned that behavior somewhere in their lives from age 0 to where they are now, right? So is it the challenge to unlearn the behavior?
I think the challenge is to unlearn the behavior.
Or teach them something else. But
you know what I think the problem is, Charles? Golly, I ain't never seen so many people so mad.
Right.
Right. The rage was palpable. Like when I'm telling, bro, it's, it's hard to be tough. It's hard to be mean for a long time. There was some kids, you break through, and some of them, boy, you got to spend some years trying to penetrate that. And I'm saying, how do you get there at 14, 15?
Mason, but I mean, a lot of people learn get their anger starts, believe it or not, on Facebook and in social media. It's incredible how people get mad over stuff they are exposed to on social media these days. In other words, there's so many more contacts that people have, so many more ways to get angry.
But I think that, Charles, I think that that's a symptom, right? I feel like deep down, you gotta, the Facebook, like the social media exacerbates. And so the thing with social,
exactly.
Because it's not, like if you got distance school when I was coming up, and somebody said, "Oh, you got bad breath," it was the 10 people that saw that.
But think about how many more people to whom you're exposed these days, as opposed to when it was just you in the neighborhood, maybe 2 or 3 others.
And so now everybody's seeing you get dissed.
That's true.
And so now you feel a certain way. But Charles, social media wasn't even really a topic. I'll be honest with you. It was the anger.
Yeah.
Like man, I saw 2 young people do poems at the ages of 15 and 14 that were probably deeper than any of the "I who I saw with the skies and they eye fly." It was much different and it was much realer. And I just, we got to do something for our young people. Ladies and gentlemen, you are tuned in to the Talk Chicago 1690 AM. I'm your host, Maze Jackson. Got my man, Charles Thomas. Charles, I got a small call to action when we come back as it relates to the young people. And we'll finish this conversation and go back to our social media question of the day. It is 8:17. We'll be back.
More of the morning show with Maze Jackson coming up on the Talk.
Like, I don't feel like there was any fear. Not fear, because that's a bad thing, but I don't. Like, to me, where is it that I'm not going to say I've never picked up a gun. I'm not going to say I never shot a gun. But what I will say is that even as I picked up the gun and even as I shot the gun, I would think like, dang, the consequence of this. And I don't even know if people think about the consequences. Like, I don't even know how you, man, that was... You know, when you want to hear the, oh, it's going to be all good. Oh, like, bro, it was some people I was looking at, and I was like, he was like, if I could, man, please. How do we refocus that even?
Well, I think you have to, I mean, first, I think it's so important that you have to begin telling kids and speaking to them, because their parents clearly are not. It's not happening at home. So it's happening in mass media is giving them this context and this rationale for doing what they do. And I think we have to start unraveling some of that as a society. And we have to make an aggressive effort to do that. We have to go intervene. I mean, that's what I think programs like Ceasefire, I think, absolutely worked. It absolutely worked. I mean, you were able to get involved in the situation immediately to disrupt the anger. Because it's there, you might as well disrupt it. And if you know where it's going to occur, if you know that Pookie got shot and you know Pookie got a cousin or that Pookie's boys were there, you got to immediately go to Pookie's boys, and that happens in the neighborhood. That's one way of dealing with it, I think, the whole violence piece. But institutionally, I mean, you have to begin preaching something different than what these kids see and hear every day. And it's got to be done on social media. It's got to be done in mass media. We got to start trying to create a different culture. The same way we created the hip-hop culture, we have to be so diabolical as to either get involved in that culture to chill people out or create a whole new culture. Particularly when we talk about young black children and young Latino children that generally grow up in this country. We have to start trying to intervene in a media way. Show them something different.
Man, but how do you get to them?
How do you get to them? Then, you know, a lot of the kids in this country too, man, are not as, in a relative sense, well, I'm not even gonna go there.
Okay.
I'm not even gonna go there. I'm not gonna say that because I know it'll just cause an explosion. But
ooh, child, things will get brighter. Ooh, child, things are gonna. We're back. Ooh, child, things will get brighter. Someday. Remember Marvin Gaye used to sing to me. It had me feeling like black was the thing to be. Ladies and gentlemen, you are tuned in to the Talk Chicago 1690 AM. I'm your host, Maze Jackson. Got my main man, Charles Thomas. Want to send a big shout out to all the little shorties that I met at the Juvenile Detention Center on Friday. Keep your head up. Guys, remember, we talked about it. You coming back? You're going to be different. Charles, but I'm gonna tell you, my brother, leaving that facility, I felt like there was work to be done. And Charles, I used to pull over and stop young people when I saw them doing something wrong and say, "Hey man, what you doing? Come on over here, let me talk to you, let me get your job." I don't know if that's the answer anymore. I'm talking to the young people. First of all, I'm happy that I went. I'm going to continue to go back. But I did think, like, if I tried to stop a couple of them guys and say, "Hey man," I might not.
Well, too, you were pretty much after the fact. I mean, once your kid ends up there, I mean, it's pretty much the next stop is penitentiary, Illinois Department of Corrections. I mean, you got to reach kids before they get to that point, really, if you really want to do some work. I mean, they say that the die is cast generally by 3rd or 4th grade. That's 9 or 10 years old.
Same time they trying to kick them out of National Teachers Academy. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, not to digress, but I mean, that's when you have to reach them before then. And in order to preempt them going to a place like the Juvenile Justice Center, I mean, usually a kid locked up in there, man, their next stop is Stateville.
Man, I'm going to tell you what, Charles, I looked into the faces of some of the young people I was talking to, and I'm going to send another shout out to the guys in the blue shirts, in the light blue shirts and the automatic transfer. I asked, what do these guys in the light blue shirts mean? Mm-hmm. And she said, oh, they're facing cases, but they're about to be transferred to the county. Now, to Cook County. Now,
like 16, 17.
Think about this, Charles. Some of these guys got in at 14, still fighting the case. So imagine you go in at 14 because the big homie told you to take action. You took the action. You go in, and now you are locked up, and you haven't seen outside since you was 14, and the next step is the county. I don't know if there's a path back from that. Let's go to the live lines. Let's see what the people have to say. James, you're on the Talk of Chicago. James, you're on the Talk of Chicago.
Good morning, Mays. Good morning, Charles.
Good morning.
Just a quick suggestion. I feel for you as well with those young brothers over there in the facility. But there's a gentleman, Mr. Spencer Lee Sr. He has been trying to get some data on the juvenile detention center to determine whether or not the educational system, as far as public and parochial schools, play a role in terms of what young folks go in there. But not only that, he has been an extremely strong advocate of placing the Bible back in the school, not for religious purposes, but for moral purposes. And Mays, I believe that's what you're speaking to, is the fact that these young folks don't seem to have any morals or values or value life. And so somehow, as you say, before they get there, we've got to get them in. Back in the day, when I say in the day, back in the early 80s, they were 12 and 13 and we could possibly grab them. Today, we got to grab them at 5 and 6. So I would strongly encourage you, Mace, to possibly sit down with Spencer, because, Spencer's on the other end of that. And that man hurts when he has to bury those young folks, that perhaps you and him could go over there together to that facility and also gather the data, because let's keep in mind, it's the chief judge that's in charge of that facility these days.
Well, you know what? I'm also reach out to Chief Judge Evans, because we got to figure out something. I saw the restorative justice program. We need to talk about that as well. Tony, you're on the Talk of Chicago.
Yes, thanks for taking my call, man. I got in on the conversation late, but I did hear enough to know that I wanted to chime in and say this. Those young fellas that's over there locked up in that facility, I guarantee you, probably 90%, if not more, of them are on those psychotropic drugs. Okay, the combination of that Ritalin and all that other stuff that they have our children on. And as far as trying to get them educated, we need to try to deal with this mind stuff that's going on with them. And the contracts, just look at the contracts of those doctors that got those private contracts over there. They're going to continue to give and prescribe those drugs to our children. That's going to make them sterile. That's going to make them have all of these other issues when they come out. So I think if you want to focus on something, focus on those contracts. Follow the dollar. Follow the money. Look and see what they're doing. They prescribe more drugs than they do education over there at that facility for you.
And then when they come out, they look like they 35 years old and ain't nothing but 17.
Tony, you know what? That was deep. I'm going to tell you, but one of the things that we did talk about while we were there was the fact that everybody that they can't stand in the facility, they pay for them. I was like, look, young brother, you don't like your guard, you don't like your CO, you don't like your parole officer. Well, you know you're paying his salary every time you take one of these moves. Larry, you're on the Talk Chicago, 1690.
Hey, how you guys doing, man?
Great.
Good morning.
Listen, I worked over there for like 9 months, and Charles is absolutely right. You have to reach them before you get there. So the solution to it is prevention, getting them in, developing programs in the schools. And as far as the last caller talking about medications, there are some of the young brothers and the few sisters there that are on medication, but the majority of them have problems reading. The school over there, they try to run that same school like they do a CPS school. You can't do it like that. You have a lot of behavioral problems, so you can't just sit down and have a regular curriculum designed like one of the schools out here. So the intervention needs to be done in the school.
I'm sorry, dang, Larry, I'm sorry, I hit the wrong button. Ruth, you're on the Talk Chicago, got 30 seconds.
How can you change the outcome and the mindset of young people if you don't change the mindset of the parents and guardians who they spend 90% of their time with, minus the exceptions?
You know what, Ruth? I would tell you that looking and talking to some of those kids, I would say that 90% of the time they spent was not with their parents. Not to say that there weren't any challenges, but 90% of that was not with the parents. You know what the other thing I saw, Charles, while I was there was kids coming out. Like, that just happened to be coming out at the same time. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of like a celebration. Like the parents were treating it like, man, you did your bid. We got you. It's a party when you come home.
Really? Like it's part of the whole...
Right, like the cycle. Yeah. Like it was like...
And you know what? You know, having gone into one of those places, you know, I visited the county jail, and I have visited the state penitentiary. And believe me, as you go up the scale, it gets worse. I mean, it's heartbreaking to see teenagers, of course, in the juvenile detention center. But I tell you, it's tragic to see what's going on in Illinois River or Stateville or Menard or Pontiac. Go in one of those places, it will scare the literal bejesus out of you.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are tuned in to the Talk Chicago 1690 AM. I'm your host, Maze Jackson, my main man, Charles Thomas. When we come back, Charles, I want to go back to our social media question of the day. So we're going to come back to that. We're going to mix a little politics and all this stuff together and just recap. Ladies and gentlemen, it is 8:30. Up next, news, traffic, and weather. We'll be back.
Live from the WVON newsroom, here's our news.
So, yeah.
Today as temperatures climb near 73.
Turn on Charles' mic. He wants to tell you something.
And here's what's happening. Time is running.
Hey, son, if you lose a good thing by Barbara Lynn, you lose a good thing by Barbara Lynn. Okay. That'll fit the conversation. Is Democratic Party, what the question is Democratic Party, what was the question?
Is the Democratic Party on life support?
Yeah. Barbara Lynn will sing to that. That's old school. That's way before. How do Chicagoans keep running? Yeah, man. What happened to the family structure? I mean, it's deep, man. It's deep. The family structure. I don't, man. It's like a lot of things that are being encouraged.
Man, we had a great conversation about this on Saturday. On Friday, we were talking about. So the alderman was telling me about how growing up in the projects, how they used to keep the violence down. He said it wasn't really the fathers that were the leaders of the communities. It was the mothers in the projects, because the mothers of the two top gang leaders would be like, y'all gonna sit down, and they would make the kids because they wouldn't listen to their fathers. And then he said what he saw was over the time, because you know Chicago resisted crack for a long, long, long time. But then once crack hit and people started making money and the mom started getting strung out, the boys didn't have the respect of their mothers anymore either. Because now you seeing your mom as the crackhead. So like when you think about like the Carol Steels of the world, the Marion Stamps of the world, they held down them joints. Like they'll walk around, you know, Carol Steele still come outside and slap the shit out. Excuse my language. She will still come out, but they control the jobs because they ran the resident associations. He was saying that he saw it all break down once the drugs got infected and people started, so now they wasn't listening to their daddies or their mamas, and now they didn't have any respect. Like I just, ugh.
But you know too, man, like, what was the percentage of black kids in that place?
Where?
Oh,
bro, the best thing I said was, look around. Look around. How many white boys in here? You see any? No.
None.
None. None. Not
make that point.
Not one.
Should have made that point.
I will. Man, not
one. Are we going back to that, or are we going to?
Oh no, we're not going back. We're going to. But bro, and I asked him, you know, and I did the what's in it for the black people.
Because that you know, if you see what you just hit on, right there. See, I think that's a very salient point to sell to kids at a very young age, to show them that and say who's in here, to give them this sense of racial awareness, situational awareness that I think even they can get at a young age. Because I mean, even at a young age, I mean, you can understand what's going on in society. I mean, how many people said Emmett Till should have known better than to do what Emmett Till did, and that most kids in Mississippi in 1955 knew better than to whistle at a white woman. You know what I'm saying?
So, I'm sorry.
They knew better than to whistle at a white woman in 1955. They knew better. I mean, our kids have got to have a situational awareness.
Man, Charles, it's hard. Check this out, man. And then they watch this, they hear all this craziness with the this post, you know, like when they go to school and they tell them it's all good. Like I have that with my son. My son, right? My daughter gets it, but my son, white school. God, Dad, you always talking about this. Hey, homie, little homie. The stuff that these white folks get away with, you ain't gonna get away with.
Well, see, that's what I'm talking about. Media, mass media needing to intervene. Not the mainstream media, but media coming up with a media in order to intervene and let people know, put them on blast, give them an alert, a warning.
Oh, we have a minute. Right.
Giving them a warning. Hey, we need a constant warning in the community about what the consequences could be of this. You know, of this kind of activity. You got to be a guerrilla fighter almost, man. You got to be stealthy, man. You know, you got to understand that.
Well, I mean, but again, right, because we walking around and our kids be walking around like it's all equal until they get up in the system. Like they be like, "Whoa, wait." And hey man, what's going on with these? Right? So our kids, that is true about being on tack, but why are you addressing this?
You should
to the Democratic Party.
Just don't mistreat me, and I'll be good to you. 'Cause if you should lose me, oh yeah, you lose a good thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are tuned in to Talk Chicago 1690 AM, and as we do every day in the 8:30 break, it is Charles' Choice. Charles, what's this one?
That's Barbara Lynn, and that was sent out to the Democratic Party of Cook County. If you should lose me, you lose a good thing.
You know, Charles, it seems as though black people are like the taken for granted wife at home.
Mm-hmm.
The taken for granted husband at home. Oh, he gonna do it. He gonna fix it. Oh, don't worry about that. That's broke over there. He gonna pay for it. He gonna take care of it. Baby, you know that's your wife at home when you say, oh, she gonna cook the dinner. Mm-hmm. She gonna sweep the floor. She gonna mop the table. And then mop the floor. But one day you come home and recognize
that she ain't gonna boogie
she ain't boogieing no more.
That's right.
And you know, Charles, I mean, so we talked about the pop tax. We talked about the party protecting institutionalized racism. Now this is all one day. Then we just heard about one of our black aldermen who feels like she's been hoodwinked, bamboozled, having $50 million meant to stop the blight, taken and given us to Navy Pier, while at the same time threatening to close the school of the poor black babies.
Oh, super achieving,
but you know that they're not from the neighborhood. But then they would tell us that they're not from the neighborhood.
Who is anymore?
But they're not from the neighborhood because you closed 53 black schools. Right. Where was they supposed to come from?
They're supposed to come from someplace else.
Right. And it gets me back to the question, Charles. No one has really explained to me what's in it for the black people. Somebody will call in and say, it's not the things that we stop. It's not the things that we do. It's the things that we stop. Can somebody stop these kids? Can you stop this institutionalized racism?
The things that we stop. I mean, everybody's playing defense. They're always playing defense, not understanding that they have the numbers now. They have the political strength to deal anymore. And to deal moving forward, and they don't use it, and I think that's what distresses a lot of black voters out there. I mean, we elected you. We protect us. Do your job. Did I just say that?
Did you say that Bruce Rauner has to do his job?
You only got one Bruce Rauner.
Charles, I got two more.
You got two more?
I got two more. So Charles, it gets me to the question, and I want the WVON listening audience to give us a call at 773-591-1690. Tell me, is the Democratic Party on its last leg?
I don't know if it's on its last leg.
Life support? But with black people?
You know,
do they got to come up with something different?
They got to come up with something. New playbook? They're sort of running out of time.
The boogeyman. But I'm just wondering, because the boogeyman, we done got.
They always got the boogeyman. They always come up with the boogeyman. Well, this year in Illinois, it's Bruce Rauner. And nationally, it's Donald Trump.
Charles, I don't think black folks are fazed by those two boogeymen.
I don't think black folks are fazed by those boogeymen either. I think that's not enough. Boogeyman is not enough. And you can't even start with some of the boogeyman stuff.
I mean, I'm telling you.
Because it's just lame, because the boogeyman here in Illinois has only been around for, 30 months?
Let's not even talk about him. Charles, talk about these taxes. Let's talk. The boogeyman is the taxes.
The boogeyman is the guy that says no more taxes. The boogeyman says no more taxes. I mean, wait a minute. Who am I supposed to be with? The boogeyman? Is the tax man the boogeyman, or is the anti-tax man the boogeyman?
Is the party on life support with black people? I mean, Charles, when we are at the point where the University of Chicago calls out institutional racism, and the party says we got to study it again after they called for the study, it seems to me as though there's some life support issues.
They're also trying to buy some time. But I'm telling you, time is not on the party side, because the election, as I pointed
several times this morning, is only 8 months away. That's not a lot of time in the world of politics to try to estrange yourself from an issue.
Let's go to the live lines. I'm gonna go to, let's see, I'm gonna go Greg, you're on the Talk of Chicago.
Yes, how you doing?
Great.
Good. I just want to let you know that the Democratic Party is hemorrhaging. It is not on life support, man. It needs a lot of help. And I'm trying to help it too. My name is Gregory Young. I met you at the taste of WVON. And I'm trying to get on the ballot myself. So I just want to make that comment this morning.
Okay, Gregory, you trying to get on the ballot?
And that is so good, Maze, what he just said. Because if the Democratic Party is going to be saved, it's going to take new blood, new faces. People, please.
Charles, not
if you're a Democrat, you know, I think that's all that can really save the Democratic Party, which is new blood, because as that caller pointed out, the party is bleeding out, and they need some new blood. They need a transfusion.
Charles, do you think they need a transfusion or they need a brain transplant?
Well, I think
because the blood. See, here's my thing. Here's the thing. If you refill the body with blood into the same machine, into the same people, we've seen that. Everybody that we elect, we send and we feed them into that machine. They become the new blood.
Well,
right?
Dr. Frankenstein, I've never heard of a brain transplant. That the science having advanced to that extent. I do know they can do transfusions.
Okay, well, how about a lobotomy? They do
yeah. Well, what's left?
Well,
seems like we got a lot of lobotomized politicians running around out there now.
Right. Okay, so that's it. We have been lobotomized. We need. Can we get some medical transplant action going on? Because I'm saying, man, we need a new mindset, Charles. It's a new mentality that is not the go along, get along mentality, but what is. I want to know what our cut is. Chelsea, I think they keep giving it to us they give us our payments. We don't get cash payments. We get social service payments. And in the meantime, I don't know if that's going to be enough. Let's go to live line again. Israel, you're on the Talk of Chicago.
Hey, man.
Hey, Israel.
Hey, I'm trying to help the Democratic Party. I'm trying to help RIP it. I'm trying to bury it.
Dang, why you want to bury it, Bob?
Man, I'm saying they had my mama drinking the Kool-Aid 40 years ago. That's why I'm not voted for Ron and Trump. Man, the Democratic Party ain't did nothing. I'm looking at Inglewood right now. I went to Robeson, Paul Robeson. Same vacant lot, same building, and downtown River North, man, redeveloped 2 or 3 different times, man. Come on, man. West Loop. I'm through playing. I want to help him. I want to help bury him. Bye.
Thank you, Bob. We appreciate. Excuse me, Israel. Thank you for your call, man. I don't know. Dave, you're on the Talk of Chicago. Dave, you're on the Talk of Chicago. Going once, going twice. Dave, you are no longer on the Talk of Chicago. Charles?
Yeah, I think there's a leading edge of that whole RIP movement, to basically go the other way. But I don't think a lot of people really at this point are to that point. I think it's going to take a lot more education. Might happen over the next 8 months that they could do it. But I think the real danger for the party is that more people are going to stay home.
I think that this is what should be the real danger of the party, Charles. Charles, I'm thinking the real danger to the party should be renegades. It should be people who, because see, I don't know if you can flip people's elite. I think that Republican stuff is crazy.
I think it's crazy too at this point because Republicans don't seem to be willing to make any effort to get black people.
So if that be the case, I'm suggesting that maybe that you got to have a little bit more than a Democratic stamp of approval to get the black vote.
I like that, and we talked about that earlier this morning.
I think that they got to do a little bit more than just saying I'm a D if you want black support. And so let's talk about the life support, and let's talk about instead of life support, let's talk about black support. Ladies and gentlemen, when we come back, we will close this conversation. I do not know where the time goes, Charles. I can't be hanging out with you in the mornings because this is the fastest 3 hours in my life.
It's the fastest 3 hours, man. I've noticed that last week.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are tuned in to the Talk of Chicago. It's 8:47. When we come back, we will give you a close on the show.
More of the morning show with Maze Jackson coming up on the Talk of Chicago.
Hey, man, we got to do the whiff today. Okay, y'all. Facebook Live. How many of y'all ready to go get some signatures? How many? I'm telling you, bro, we could just lay down. Oh my God.
What?
I'm just saying. We mobilize 200 people around the county to go get signatures. You do 3 Cook County mailers, countywide mailers. Black, with the bud black, and we don't even hide from no blackness. Think about this, Charles. The last 2 governor's races were decided by less than 10,000 votes. We talk to more than that in a day. Think about having a stranglehold where the black community could literally be like, we 15, 20,000 strong right here. Look at it. None of y'all make it past. You might sneak some state reps by, but check this out. 20,000 votes, 20,000 people, you changing the governor's race. You and that trickles down to everything else. 3 mailers, bro. 3 mailers, and then the Facebook, the Lions Den, all of us. Imagine
but you know the mailers have got to be certified. They got to have a WIFTA or something else on them that will denote this independent, free thinking black person.
That's what I'm saying. But I'm saying, Charles, we can run the spots for it, right? Be on the lookout as soon as it comes. Sending for the black people. Yeah, you about to get this. Yeah, you gonna get mail. But look at your neighborhood, right? Has it been in it for you? And then we tell them what it is. You post it, you do it social, and you do it digital. Now, that's only one part of it. But again, the point has to be black folks. We have to take the word and share it, right? We got to take the what's in it for the black people and share it and make it a mentality across all black folks. Not based on Mays, not based on Charles, but based on black people.
The other thing, too, is that you're going to get this whole notion that if black people don't get behind the Democratic Party, then the Republicans will win, and it will be woe for us. In other words,
we did that one.
Huh?
The Republicans won last time, and it's been woe for us for
no, but they'll say that again. I mean, that is the whole fear tactic, that if black people don't come together and go 95% to the Democrats, then the Republicans will take over, and we will be back in bondage.
Ain't we in bondage now?
That is.
What?
I know, my brother. I know, my brother. It's like, at what point do we say, oh, hell no, we're not going to do that again. We're not going to, it's like.
What's the definition of insanity?
Yeah, I mean, but it seems like this is the thing that, but let me talk about that when we come back on, because, that seems to be the repeat. It's the same thing every election cycle. We get scared to death. We are frightened into voting Democratic because they say, well, if you don't vote Democratic, the Republicans will win, and you will be back in bondage, and that's what always happens. And then they spend the 4 years telling us how horrible the Republicans have been for us.
But they couldn't get
the Democrats get elected, and things are just as horrible. And as we saw during the past 8 years, even more horrible than they were. I mean, aside from some emotional wins. And then we end up just spinning our wheels. And it seems like we've been spinning our wheels for the last 40, 50 years.
We still going.
And,
y'all ready? Here we come.
WVON.com.
Chicago, this your boy Uncle Luke, and whenever I'm in town, I listen to Mays and Charles right here on WVON.
That was Uncle Luke, y'all. Y'all don't know about that.
Pretty little
You are tuned in to the Top of Chicago, 1690 AM. I'm your host, Maze Jackson. Got my main man, Charles Thomas, in the building. Charles, man, this time flies. You had something you wanted to say before we...
Yeah, because, you keep asking questions. What are the Democrats going to do in 2018 to convince black people to vote for them? Well, I would suggest at this late hour, the late date, that they are going to do the same thing they've done every year for the past, every election cycle.
The boogeyman?
25 election cycles. They're going to say, if you don't vote Democratic, then the Republicans are going to take over. In other words, if you don't vote Democratic 95%, then the Republicans are going to take over, and boy, you're going to be back in bondage.
I'm going to tell you, Charles, I had a, I don't know if you saw that video.
And that's what they do.
I had a guy come up to me and tell me that I was being disloyal, that I am not a good Democrat because I am not marching lockstep, and because, they might, and I asked him, I said, brother, what is in it? This white dude pulled me off a float and said, hey, man, we want to elect good Democrats, and I think you're a paid operative of Rauner. And I say, brother, why do I have to be a paid operative of Rauner to advocate for black people and black issues? You're a Rauner supporter, and we're going to take you down. And it's like, I'm not a Rauner supporter. I'm a black person supporter, and I don't understand, Charles, why black people can't speak on behalf in their best interest, and when they don't have a track record to show us.
But see, it's always circle the wagons. Circle the wagons, black man. Circle the wagons, because the Republicans are coming.
But Charles, why the white boys keep getting rich? Every time we circle the wagons, the white boys get rich, and guess what we get?
Nothing, because they just figure they figure we're gonna go back to bondage. We're going to be back on the plantation as if we never left.
Told you, brother.
As if we never left. And if we don't, if we somehow break ranks or ask for anything, just get yourself a...
Charles, think about this. The freaking Tribune called out institutional racism. The Tribune, as well as... dang, I just had a brain freeze. The Chicago Tribune called out the racism. The University of Chicago called out institutional racism. And I'm going to tell you that we are going to have a mailer that tells us that that's all fake, regardless of and we should just roll with that.
Well, if you don't have anybody out there telling you that the mailer saying it's fake is fake, then, a lot of people are going to be hoodwinked. Gonna be bamboozled again, but we've been bamboozled every election cycle since the 1960s, man. I'm serious, bamboozled, and nothing has really come of it. And I think it's just, you got to make the demand. You got to make the demand at this stage of the game.
You know what, Charles? What I want to do is, I think what we need to do, because this property tax thing is a big deal. I'm thinking maybe we need to get somebody who can break it down for our listeners on the show so they can understand how it impacts.
Bring them.
You know what? So I'm going to reach out to the author of that story. We're going to talk to our producer and have him do that. Charles, but we had a banging show. So Joe Barrios, apparently the Chicago Tribune is calling, saying it's time to go. Toni Preckwinkle had a setback on her pop tax. Charles, I told you I went to my grocery store yesterday. And when I went to the grocery store, every price tag on a pop had a sticker on it that said, this product is subject to the Cook County beverage tax. I think that you might be right. The best thing that could happen to any Cook County Board Commissioner that voted for that is that this tax does not pass until at least after their election, because I think that they don't understand the political power that this beverage industry has. Charles, they got a Pepsi truck, a Coke truck, all of that could be in their stores.
They're going into every neighborhood in the county, going into every neighborhood, and those could be like precinct workers. Those
better than
truck drivers.
Better than, because they get paid. Then, Charles, social media question of the day, we asked, is the Democratic Party on life support? We talked to Salim Muwakil, who brought us up to speed on Trump and Sessions in the White House. Charles, but I got a story that I think we just got to stay on. We have got to make sure that these kids at North at the Teachers Academy,
National Teachers
National
Academy
Teachers
on
Academy,
Cermak.
get to stay. I mean, they done have 50. They done been getting hoodwinked, bamboozled, and I think that those parents need to mobilize, and we need to help those kids stay.
Well, the alderman right now, I think she's getting bamboozled, according to her statement.
But I thought she worked for the Department of Planning. How could you be bamboozled?
Well, you know, she's saying that she's outraged, and maybe she can use some of that outrage, whether it's fake or not, to get out of this National Teachers Academy closing thing. Maybe she can say, hey, I don't trust them anymore, so I'm backing away from my support for changing this high achieving elementary school attended by 90% black children. I'm not going to close it anymore. I don't want to close anymore.
Man,
because I'm mad. If she can do that, and she can become a champion.
Now you know that something must have happened if she got Reverend Jesse Jackson to be on our side.
Yeah.
So obviously we might be in the right on this.
She's getting pressure. She's getting pressure, and she's going to have to do something. First, apparently the Reverend Jackson says, well, the construction jobs aren't for the black people. This hotel isn't for the black people. What's in it for the black people? Alderman, how about the school? You would have put something in it for the black people with the school decision? She's got a shot. She's got a chance.
Now I'm going to check my email. We're going to check. There'll probably be a notice today. Probably be a press release. And I'll be looking for that community.
Well, maybe she's been on one of the other shows here.
She come in on another show and talk about it.
Come on Perry's show or come
tell
on
her to bring that big guy.
Maybe she be on Chat Daddy's show.
Hey! Somewhere. Ladies and gentlemen, you know what? This is the show where we cause trouble every morning. But you know what we cause good trouble for black folks, right? We want to ask the questions, shake the tree. Now, Charles, this is the first Monday with the new commentator, so I want you all to stay tuned. 9:20, Kimberly Agoin will be dropping her first commentary. So I guess the only time I'm gonna really get to say it now is when I leave the show. Look, we got things to say. We got people to talk about, issues to address. We want to know what's in it for the black people. And if you ain't got an answer, if you got a problem with it, you still can tell them. May said, we out of here. Peace.
The talk of Chicago and the voice of the nation is 1690 WVON, Berwyn, Chicago.
Kushner's statement.
Yeah, but you know what you were saying.
You're on the camera. Remember, you're on camera.
Okay.
Here, hold on. All right, hold on. All right, y'all. We out here. Charles, just hold on. I'm going to tell you bye. Say bye.
Hey, we'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same place. Same bat channel. Same bat station.
He said bat. Check me out. I'm going to flip it up on. Hey, see y'all tomorrow. Same black station, same black channel. Peace.
Nah, man. If they
hold it.